In Good Shape, your weekly dose of health information on DWTV. Find out more about what's new in medical treatment, alternative medicine, as well as nutrition and beauty. Medical professionals, therapists, and counselors are in our studio every week to offer their expert advice on In Good Shape.
A doctor and biologist with long-term experience in treating chronic fatigue syndrome is my guest in the studio today, Dr. Bernd Michael Löffler. Thank you for joining us.
Hello.
Dr. Löffler, can you explain for us what are the main differences between diseases or conditions like burnout and depression and the chronic fatigue syndrome?
Also in burnout and depression you can have a fatigue, but it is not a chronic fatigue. So the emphasis is on chronic. And it is not the main cause of this illness. So we, in other illnesses, can always find a link between a fatigue and the reason. In chronic fatigue, you do not find this link, so therefore you have to find it by exclusion criteria.
Mm-hmm. So we don't really know what's causing it. Still, doctors are sure that it's not a psychological cause. Why is that?
There is an increasing volume of data showing that there are links, for example, to specific genetic backgrounds. So you can have, we are looking today in mutations of certain genes, and we can link these mutations to a disease. And when you look in the recent literature, in the scientific literature, then you find that there are links between gene mutations and your risk to get chronic fatigue syndrome.
Mm-hmm. So they have found some physical elements that are responsible, but it's not really fully researched yet. Is that correct?
It is not really fully researched yet, and because of that, and because of the fact that it is a multimodal disease which has not just one cause but can have different causes, treatment is very difficult.
Mm-hmm. Well, please run us through the different theories that there are about the causes of CFS.
So one reason, one theory is that it is a cause of a virus infection, a chronified virus infection, and there are different viruses which have been named to cause CFS. For example, human HHV6 or the XMRY virus. Lately, last year, was one of the viruses where people thought that this might be the cause. But
what's new in that? There was a lot of press about the XMR virus. Is there any new findings?
The new is that this virus was firstly linked to CFS. This is the new, but I think that's it. And when you look into literature, then a virus infection might be the trigger point for the start of the illness, but it is not the explanation of the illness. Otherwise, it could not be related to different viruses as we find it presently.
So what is the explanation in your view?
The explanation is that, or the explanation might be, with a high likelihood, illness of the mitochondria. The mitochondria are our energy plants, and everything runs or does not run if you have enough energy. Also, the immune system needs energy. If you have a problem with energy production, then you have a general problem in the body.
Mm-hmm. So what happens eventually with CFS? Does it ever go away by itself? Do you die of it? How does this end?
No, you don't die of it. You can live with it for a very long time. But it will not go simply away if you don't do anything. Mm-hmm. Because you can see in all these patients that they have physical backgrounds which you can measure, things which are not working anymore.
Dr. Löffler, why is that a scientist says she would rather have HIV than CFS?
Because for HIV we have found the reason, and we have a treatment. We have a monocausal disease. We have one reason and then we have the symptoms. We can diagnose exactly, and we have treatment options. For CFS, it is much more complicated. We have a multifactorial disease, we call it. Many reasons can add together, lead to chronic fatigue, and we don't have a clear treatment option.
Mm-hmm. Well, one of our viewers has written to us asking about that. Nadia Morgan from Hobart in Tasmania would like to know what options are being tried for treatment.
So one option is certainly to fill up the empty stores of vitamins and minerals, which is certainly a background of chronic fatigue, because many chronic fatigue people have problems with their gastrointestinal tract. They have problems to take up, as normal people, enough vitamins and minerals, which lead to a problem. Another treatment option is that you deal with chronic inflammation. Chronic inflammation is triggered by radical processes, oxidative radicals and nitrosative stress, we call it. There are new options to treat this, and this is a treatment option.
Mm-hmm. Nitrosative stress, can you explain that?
Nitrosative stress is something which happens mainly in our energy factories, in the mitochondria. Nitric monoxide is a stuff which we need for regulation. If it is vandalized with oxygen radicals, then it will disable proteins, fats, and so on, and the metabolism will not run anymore.
Again, the energy plants aren't working properly.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. Well, treatment also has a lot to do with managing the symptoms. What can patients do there to get along in their day-to-day life?
Patients have to learn to be patient. And patients have to learn to deal with their limited energy resources. Very often, patients with CFS want to do more than they can. And then they fall afterwards in a very deep hole, and they need months or weeks to get out of it to their level. This is one problem. Another problem is that every time when they do more as they want, they fall a step deeper.
How do you find a qualified doctor?
I would say you go to a network, a self-help network, and look which doctors are there recommended, which already have experience with CFS.
To make sure you get the best treatment.
Exactly.
Well, thank you very much for being our guest today. Thank you.
Thank you.